Bullies attack fat farm girl. They had no idea she was trained by Green Beret sniper. An inspiring story by Heartfelt Tales. The sound of cruel laughter echoed across the cornfield as Maya Jenkins watched three boys kick over her vegetable stand from her kitchen window. At 19, she had grown accustomed to the whispers and snickers that followed her through town, but watching them destroy the fruits of her labor still made her heart clench with familiar pain. Welcome to Heartfelt Tales, where every story reminds us that strength comes in many forms, and sometimes the most unexpected heroes emerge from the most unlikely places. Maya had always been different. While other girls her age were posting selfies and going to parties, she spent her days tending to the 100-acre farm she'd inherited from her grandmother. Her round cheeks and soft curves had made her a target since middle school, and even now, years later, some people in the small town of Millfield couldn't seem to let her be. "There goes the fat farm girl," she heard them whisper at the grocery store. "What a waste of good land," others would say, shaking their heads as they drove past her property. But Maya had a secret that nobody in town knew about. Every evening, after the farm work was done, she would walk to the old oak tree at the edge of her property where a weathered man in his 60s waited for her. Sergeant First Class Robert "Bear" Martinez, retired Green Beret sniper, had been her trainer for the past 3 years. It had started by accident. Maya had been walking through the woods behind her property when she stumbled upon Bear living in a small cabin he'd built with his own hands. He was a veteran struggling with PTSD, seeking solitude in the wilderness. Instead of calling the authorities, Maya had quietly left food and supplies at his doorstep for weeks until he finally approached her. "Why are you helping me?" he had asked, his gruff voice barely above a whisper. "Because everyone deserves kindness," Maya had replied simply. "And because I know what it's like to be judged before anyone gets to know who you really are." That conversation had changed both their lives. Bear found purpose in training Maya, teaching her everything he knew about survival, combat, and marksmanship. Maya discovered a strength she never knew she possessed, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. "Your body is just a vessel," Bear would tell her during their training sessions. "It's your mind that makes you dangerous. It's your heart that makes you unstoppable." Maya had become an expert marksman, capable of hitting a target at 800 yards. She could move through the forest like a shadow, set traps, and defend herself with deadly efficiency. But more importantly, Bear had taught her that her worth wasn't determined by how others saw her, but by how she saw herself. The bullying had escalated recently. Tommy Richardson and his 2 friends had been harassing Maya for months, ever since she'd refused Tommy's crude advances at the county fair. They would drive by her farm, shouting insults and throwing trash on her property. Today, they had crossed a line by destroying her vegetable stand, her only source of income besides the farm. As Maya watched them from her window, she saw Tommy pull out a can of spray paint and begin defacing her grandmother's old barn with offensive words. That's when something inside her snapped. She walked to her bedroom closet and pulled out the ghillie suit Bear had made for her. Within minutes, she had disappeared into the landscape, moving silently through the tall grass and corn stalks that surrounded her property. Tommy and his friends were laughing and joking, completely unaware they were being watched. Maya positioned herself behind the old grain silo, approximately 200 yards from where they stood. She pulled out her paintball gun, a modified version that fired pellets filled with bright pink paint at high velocity. The first shot hit Tommy square in the back, exploding in a burst of fluorescent pink. He spun around, confused and startled. "What the?" he started to say before the second shot hit him in the chest. His friends looked around frantically, trying to locate the source of the attack. The third and fourth shots found their marks, covering both boys in bright pink paint. "It's coming from everywhere," one of them screamed. Maya's voice seemed to come from the wind itself, amplified by a small device Bear had taught her to use. "You have 30 seconds to leave my property and never come back." "Where are you?" Tommy shouted, his voice cracking with fear. "Show yourself." Another paintball hit him in the shoulder. 20 seconds. The boys ran toward their truck, slipping and stumbling in their panic. As they reached the vehicle, Maya's voice followed them. If you ever set foot on my land again, if you ever speak to me or about me again, the next projectiles won't be filled with paint. Are we understood? Tommy fumbled with his keys, his hands shaking. This isn't over, he yelled, though his voice betrayed his fear. One final paintball shattered against his truck's rear window as they sped away, leaving a bright pink splatter that would serve as a reminder of this day. Maya remained hidden for another 20 minutes, making sure they were truly gone before emerging from her camouflaged position. As she walked back to her house, she found Bear waiting for her on the porch, a proud smile creasing his weathered face. "How did I do, Sergeant?" she asked. "Outstanding, soldier," he replied. "But more importantly, how do you feel?" Maya considered the question carefully. For the first time in her life, she felt powerful. Not because she had scared away her bullies, but because she had stood up for herself with confidence and control. "I feel like myself," she said finally. "The real me." The next morning, Maya received an unexpected visitor. Sheriff Davidson knocked on her door, his expression serious but not unfriendly. "Maya, I had some interesting visitors yesterday evening," he said. "3 boys covered head to toe in pink paint, claiming you attacked them." Maya maintained eye contact, her voice steady. "They were trespassing on my property and vandalizing my barn. I have security cameras if you'd like to see the footage." The sheriff nodded slowly. "I figured as much. Tommy Richardson has been trouble since he was 12. But Maya..." He paused, studying her face. "Whatever you did to scare them, it worked. They're telling everyone in town that you're some kind of military sniper." Maya almost smiled. "People say a lot of things about me, Sheriff. Most of it isn't true." "Well, true or not, they won't be bothering you anymore. Tommy's mama made him scrub that pink paint off his truck for 6 hours, and she's making him pay for the damage to your barn out of his own pocket." After the sheriff left, Maya walked out to assess the damage to her property. She found something unexpected. Several of her neighbors were there, cleaning up the mess and helping to restore her vegetable stand. Mrs. Patterson from the adjacent farm approached her. "Maya, honey, I owe you an apology. I've watched those boys harass you for months and never said a word. That was cowardly of me." "We all were," added Mr. Chen, who ran the local hardware store. "You've been nothing but kind to everyone in this town, and we let them treat you terribly." As the day progressed, more neighbors arrived. They brought fresh vegetables to replace the ones that had been destroyed, helped repaint the barn, and even improved the design of her roadside stand. By evening, Maya's property looked better than it had in years. That night, as she sat on her porch with Bear, Maya reflected on the day's events. "You know," she said, "I thought today was about showing them I wasn't weak. But I think it was really about showing myself that I was already strong." Bear nodded, sipping his coffee in the comfortable silence they had grown to share. "Strength isn't about how hard you can hit, Maya. It's about how hard you can be hit and keep moving forward. You've been doing that your whole life. And the best part," Maya continued, "is that I didn't have to become someone else to be strong. I just had to embrace who I already was." In the weeks that followed, Maya's farm became a gathering place for the community. Her vegetable stand flourished, not just because of the quality of her produce, but because people had finally taken the time to get to know the kind, hard-working young woman behind the assumptions they had made. Tommy and his friends kept their distance, but Maya noticed that Tommy had stopped hanging around with the same crowd. One day, she even caught him helping an elderly man carry groceries to his car, a small sign that perhaps the shame of that day had sparked some self-reflection. Bear eventually built a small guest house on Maya's property, with her permission and the blessing of the local authorities who had come to respect both of them. He found peace in the community Maya had helped create, and she found family in the gruff veteran who had taught her that courage comes from within. Maya learned that being underestimated could be a superpower of its own. While others saw only her appearance and made assumptions about her capabilities, she had quietly become one of the most formidable people in the county. More importantly, she had learned that true strength comes not from the ability to hurt others, but from the wisdom to protect yourself and the compassion to lift others up. Her grandmother's farm continued to thrive, but now it was more than just land and crops. It had become a symbol of resilience, a reminder that heroes don't always look like what we expect, and that sometimes the most powerful weapon against cruelty is simply refusing to become cruel yourself. Maya never had to use her specialized training again, but knowing she could gave her a confidence that radiated from within. She walked taller, spoke with more authority, and approached life with the quiet assurance of someone who knew exactly who she was and what she was capable of. The fat farm girl they had mocked was gone, not because Maya had changed her appearance, but because she had finally embraced the warrior she had always been inside. And that made all the difference. Sometimes the strongest among us are those who choose kindness over cruelty, even when they have every reason and every ability to do otherwise. That's not weakness, that's the kind of strength that can change the world. If this story touched your heart and reminded you that true strength comes in many forms, please give it a like and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Don't forget to subscribe to Heartfelt Tales for more stories that celebrate the extraordinary in the ordinary, and the hero that lives within us all.